So these are all of the new proof reasons that we learned in this unit. They're all going to be fair game. All of the proof reasons that we learned in Unit 2 are also fair game for these proofs. We need all of them together in order to prove these things about parallel and perpendicular lines. In number 1, we start with always what? Or at least 95% of the time we start with what? Yeah, Casper. Perfect. I'm going to hunt for givens, right? I see there's only one in this problem. It's the first one. I'm done with the givens. But look at the givens first. Number 2, it says angle 1 and angle 4 are congruent. In the previous step, we said that A and B are parallel, meaning T is my transversal. Then what is the relationship between angles 1 and 4? Casper. They are corresponding angles. In step 1, I started with information about the lines being parallel. In step 2, I am then concluding that 2 corresponding angles are congruent. So I'm looking for the proof reason that has corresponding angles congruent as the conclusion of my statement, right? Remember that this is an if-then statement, basically. If lines are parallel, then corresponding angles are congruent. So that is parallel lines imply corresponding angles congruent. Questions there? Okay, now I'm going to look at a different pair of angles. 4 and 3 are congruent. Why? Nolan. Perfect. Make sure we write it out like that. Then number 4, how did we get there? Go ahead. Yeah, transitive property of congruence. Because we're cutting out that 4 to say that 1 and 3 are congruent. Any questions there? Okay, that was, yeah, question? Yeah, you could. I would take that. Beautiful. I'd also, I guess, take substitution there. I don't care. Questions on that? There's a lot of ways that we can get to these answers. All right, number 2. I'm going to hunt for these givens first. I see a given in step 1. Where else? What other step do I see a given in? 3. I saw fingers. Good job. So I'm starting with, look at what we're starting with. Highlight these things as we go. I'm starting with A parallel to B. Then 3 is supplementary to 2. I'm not going to mark them as congruent because they're not congruent. They're supplementary. So I'm covering up the whole left side of my diagram to just look at D as my transversal. What is the reason for that in step 2? I'm concluding something about angles. Yeah, Aubrey? Yes, and we have to write it as we started with information about parallel lines in step 1 that implies same side interior angles are supplementary. Questions on that one? So number 4, we're doing the same thing, except now I'm not looking at those parallel lines, A and B. Now I'm looking at the parallel lines, C and D. 1 is supplementary to 2. I can cover up the bottom part of my diagram and just look at A as my transversal. How do I know that 1 and 2 are supplementary? Casper? Parallel lines imply same side interior angles supplementary. How do I know number 5? Anna? We don't have transitive property for supplementary. We have a different name for it, though. Any ideas? We just talked about it on your test, actually. I pointed it out to you. Ooh. Is it over here? Did I open it up? I did open it up. Let's go back to Unit 2. What's my reason? Do we see it? 3 is supplementary to angle 2. 1 is supplementary to angle 2. If they are both supplementary to the same angle, then they are congruent because of the congruent supplements theorem. Any questions on that? Okay. Let's take a look at number 3. I've got only one given. It's in the first step. Number 2 is filled in for us, but it's not filled in on your homework. I don't know why it's not the same. But number 2 says angles 2 and 3 add together to get 180. Anytime I see 2 angles, what do we call that when they form a straight line? What do we call 2 angles forming a straight line? Dahlia? Yeah. Anytime we see a linear pair, we can say that their measures add up to 180, and all we have to say for that is the angle addition postulate. So this is one that does show up on your homework, so just maybe star it. I don't know why it's filled in here. Okay, so then giving that information, then I say angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent. Why do we know that? Casper? Perfect. Look at number 1. I start with these lines being parallel. Then 1 and 2 are corresponding angles. So parallel lines imply corresponding angles congruent. 4 is one that you don't need to know. 4 just says I can switch my equal sign to a congruent symbol or vice versa. Definition of congruent angles. You don't need to know that one. 5, however, it says angle 1 and angle 3 add together to get 180. How do I know that? Any ideas? Have we seen a statement similar to statement 5 somewhere else in our proof? Where is that? What line? Line 2. What did I replace in line 2? I replaced angle 1 and angle 2, and I can do that because of the information I just got in step 4. That is substitution. What's number 6? Go ahead, Casper. Yep. Parallel lines imply same side exterior angles supplementary. One more reason that I could have used. Remember when we have a vocab word, what can I do? Caitlin? Perfect. Because I'm saying that 1 plus 3 equals 180, that is my definition of supplementary angle. So they were leading us towards that one, but if you saw 6 and you said same side exterior angle supplementary, I would take that too. Questions on that one? Not too bad so far, right? We're still okay? All right, number 4, let's hunt for those givens. The only given I see is in step 1, so that's good. Step 2, again, there's that linear pair. So when I see that linear pair adding to 180, that's going to be angle addition postulate. Filled in here, not filled in on your homework. How do I get to step 3? Casper. Perfect. We're taking this piece and plugging it in. We're taking this piece and plugging it in. Substitution or transitive I would take here. Oh, not subtraction. Substitution. Can we make sure that we know how to spell substitution? Clearly I don't, but can we just make sure that we try a little bit? I was getting a lot of substations. It's not quite what I'm looking for. All right, number 4. What'd we do? Casper. What did you subtract from both sides? Subtract the measure of angle 1 from both sides. Step 5 just changes that equal sign to a congruent symbol. What is step 6? I have now concluded, well, I have hypothesized, I suppose, that 2 and 3 are congruent. Therefore, L and N are parallel. What lets me say that? Casper. They're corresponding angles, but now look. My statement is that L is parallel to N. I am concluding. I'm saying if these two angles are congruent, then the lines must be parallel. So now I'm using the converse of that reason. It has to be corresponding angles being congruent now implies that the lines are parallel. Do we see the difference between like number 3 and number 4 for number 6? Okay, the difference between the regular conditional and then when we flip it around. Okay, good on this page. Flip it over. Hunt for those givens. I see the first one in step 1. What line is my other given in? 3. Don't miss one on accident. Now, when I get big diagrams like this diamond shape, what I'm going to do is highlight those lines that I am looking at. So if I start with L parallel to N, I'm going to highlight, here is L, here is N. Those are the lines that are parallel. Then I say 4 and 8 are congruent. So if I'm looking at 4 and 8, my transversal must be this line K. I'm ignoring J for the moment. Okay, for the time being, I don't care that J is there. Then I say in step 3, 8 is congruent to 12 because that is given to me. So I'm going to mark that up. Oh, sorry, I skipped 2, the statement for 2. Why do I know that 4 and 8 are congruent? Casper? Parallel lines in step 1 imply that 4 and 8, those corresponding angles, are congruent. Step 3's given tells me that 8 is also congruent to 12. Step 4 tells me what? 4 is congruent to 12. Why? This one's tricky. What do we think? Go ahead, Casper. That is the most common mistake. It is not corresponding angles are congruent. Give me a different reason why those could be congruent. Real. Yeah, that's just transitive. I'm crossing out this 8 and saying that 4 and 12 are congruent because of the transitive property of congruence. Why can I not say parallel lines imply corresponding angles are congruent? Let's look at 4 and 12. What is the transversal between 4 and 12? Which line, Dahlia? Line K is not the transversal. What's the transversal? Yes, L is the transversal here, which means the two lines that I'm going to say are parallel are J and K. Do we have, when I get to step 4, have I said yet that J and K are parallel? So are we allowed to say that parallel lines imply corresponding angles if we don't have those lines are parallel? No. So that is the most common mistake that I see. If we don't know that those two lines are parallel yet, we cannot use that direction of my conditional statement. Then in step 5, now I'm saying, if I have those two corresponding angles congruent, then the lines are parallel. What's my justification for that? Something implies something. What implies what? Go ahead. Corresponding angles congruent now are going to imply that these two lines must be parallel. Again, I'm doing the same thing I was doing in the last proof. I am working backwards. I'm starting with the angles. I'm figuring out that those angles are congruent and then using that information to prove lines are parallel, not the other way around. Any questions on that? This is maybe one that you want to give a star to because that is a super common mistake that I see. Okay, questions on 5? We only have a few more, then we're done. These ones are going to go pretty quickly. Number 6, in a plane, A is perpendicular to B, B is perpendicular to C, and C is parallel to D. I've got a few givens here. A perpendicular to B, B perpendicular to C. That's my reason in number 1. C parallel to D. That's my given in number 3. So I only have really 2 things to fill in here. Let's look at my diagram. A perpendicular to B, B perpendicular to C. Why do I know then that A and C must be parallel? Allegra. Perfect. 2 lines perpendicular to the same line must be parallel to each other. If I go back to the top of last page, that's one of the ones that we learned yesterday. It's this one right here. 2 lines perpendicular to the same line are parallel to each other. Unfortunately, there's no good way to abbreviate that. We just got to fill that in. 2 lines perpendicular to the same line imply parallel to each other. Okay? Then I say C is parallel to D. That was given to me here and here. Then why do I know that A is parallel to D? We don't have transitive property for parallel lines. So what do we call this? Brielle? Two lines parallel to the same line imply that the lines are parallel to each other. Perfect. Again, another one of our reasons from last lesson. Make sure that you're writing that whole thing out. We don't forget about that. Questions on that one? Okay, I know I pointed this out for the last few days. We're going to go to the big scary one, but it's going to be okay. Look at number 7. I have in a plane, A is perpendicular to B, and B is parallel to C. I've got a given in step 1 and step 4. Hey, that's a lot of that already done. Why do I know number 2? A is perpendicular to B in step 1. Step 2 says number 1 must be a right angle. Why do we know that? Ooh. Caitlin. Perfect. That is a symbol, but it's also a vocab word. Definition of that vocab word, perpendicular lines. How do we know step 3? About to do the same thing. Do we see a vocab word that we need to define, Casper? Yep, definition of right angle. So now I know that angle 1 is equal to 90 degrees. I go back to my givens and say that B is parallel to C. How do I know that angles 1 and 2 are congruent? Caitlin? Yes, they are corresponding. I started with the parallel lines in step 4. That implies corresponding angles are congruent. Beautiful. We go from congruent to equal sign. That's one of the ones you don't have to know, definition of congruent angles. How do I get to step 7? How do I know angle 2 is equal to 90 then? Brielle? Yeah, can you tell me what 2 steps you're substituting together maybe? Okay, and? Yeah. I'm taking the statement in step 3. I know that angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent or equal, so I can replace that into step 7. So substitution. Number 8. Angle 2 is a right angle. Gotta think backwards here. Remember, our definitions work both ways, Caitlin? Yeah, I'm saying that it's a right angle in step 8, but really I'm defining what 90 degrees means. So this is the definition of a right angle. Okay, similar logic to finish it off. Then how do I know that A is perpendicular to C? Go ahead, Casper. Yeah, exactly. Definition of perpendicular lines. Okay, we just did a 9-step proof. It wasn't that bad, was it? Oh my goodness. Some faces I just saw. Okay, one more. A is parallel to B is our given statement. That's the only given that I have. Why do I know that angles 1 and 3 are congruent then? What do we call those? What are they? What do we got? Casper. Parallel lines imply corresponding angles are congruent. We change that congruent symbol to an equal sign in step 3. Step 4 is one of those sneaky ones. 2 and 3 form a linear pair, so they can add together to make 180 by the angle addition postulate. That'll be on your homework. Then how do I know step 5, that angles 1 and 2 equal 90 degrees? Go ahead, Casper. Okay, so there's a better one than that. What's better than that one? Dahlia? 1 and 2 are not a linear pair. We already said that one. Casper? Yeah, substitution is better because, take a look, hold on. Let me highlight it. In step 5, we're taking the statement from step 4 and we're plugging in this angle 1 for angle 3. So I like substitution. I think that is better than same side interior angles. Even though 1 and 2 are same side interior angles, if we think solely about the definition of what same side interior angles says, same side interior angles does not say that they equal 180. Same side interior angles are strictly saying that things are supplementary. So while I probably wouldn't mark it wrong on number 5 if you said same side interior angles supplementary, we're not saying that they're supplementary, we're saying they're 180. How do I know that they are supplementary though? Then I could use parallel lines imply same side interior angles are supplementary. Or what's another good reason for this one? Casper. Perfect. Any questions on that?